Not quite a backpacking trip, but also not quite an urban vacation. Everything we needed fit in just 2 backpacks. We set out to cover almost 3,000 miles using multiple forms of transit. Navigating to our overnight ferry on day 1 took entirely too long, but we eventually made it to Osaka Nanko Port to the Orange Ferry to arrive the next morning in Aime Toyo. We have a short bus ride to Imabari to pick up our rental bicycles, and then we depart on the 46-mile Shimanami-Kaido bicycle route. 6 massive bridges, some among the longest suspension bridges in the world, carry us across 6 islands in the Seto Island Sea. The Shimanami-Kaido was designed to attract cyclists from around the world. Although the route is popular, it never felt crowded. Signage appears in both English and Japanese, and blue lines painted on the roadways make navigation effortless. We took lots of snack stops and photo stops and experienced lots of island culture by the end of our first full day. The next morning, our aching bodies get back on bicycles for the second leg of our trip on the Shimanami. More bridges, more sunshine, until our first Buddhist temple, Kosanji Temple, located on Ikaguchi Island. This brightly colored temple is devoted to mothers. It was founded in 1936 by a Japanese businessman to honor his mother, but construction took about 30 years, so this temple is quite new by Japanese standards. Near the back, we descend into the Thousand Buddha Cave. And emerge again into the daylight in front of the great statue of Ku's Cannon. We end our visit at the super modern Hill of Hope sculpture garden atop the temple, representing familial ties and world peace. Back on our bikes to the island of Inoshima to its flower center, and one of our favorite hikes, the Trail of 700 Buddhas and Mount Shirataki. Many sources credit creation of the Rakan statues to Kashiwabara Denroku and his disciples. Some statues apparently date back to 1830. From the summit, we can see smaller islands in the Seto Sea and the Inoshima Bridge. After our final bridge and snack stop, we return our bikes to catch the ferry to end in Onomichi. Then the train to Okayama and our first delicious bowls of ramen to end the day. Morning in Okayama takes us to Okayama Castle, nicknamed the Crow Castle because of its color, and the Korakuen Garden across the river. The garden was originally commissioned in 1687. This classic shuyu, or stroll garden, provides walking paths, ponds for koi, bamboo groves, tea houses, and a hilltop from which to view the entire garden. Then a bus ride south to Uno and another ferry to Naoshima, the most frequently visited of the so-called art islands. We explore Naoshima's 3 square kilometers on foot, spotting art installations at every turn. Our first day, we focused on the art house project in Honmura. Conceptual artworks are scattered in galleries throughout the village. Photos were not permitted in some of our favorites. The sunset over Miyanoura Port from our hillside cottage was a beautiful end to the day. The next morning, we ventured out to one of my most anticipated sites, Yayoi Kusama's Yellow Pumpkin. more large outdoor pieces, and another kusama installation, until we arrive at the fantastic Chichu Museum. No photography permitted, so please enjoy my hand-drawn impressions of the art of Walter de Maria and the architecture of Tadao Ando. Our eyes and hearts full, we depart the island and travel to Himeji to view the castle. Himeji-jo is known as the White Heron Castle. This is one of the few original Japanese castles still standing, built in 1581. Then we hop on the Shinkansen high-speed train to the very, very busy Kyoto station. Our trendy hotel with a bookstore lobby and spaceship-themed hallways will be our base for the next few days. The morning train takes us to Nara with hordes of tourists and semi-wild deer living in Nara Koen. Then to Todaiji Temple past the school tour groups to view the magnificent giant bronze Daibutsu statue. Up the stairs to Negatsudo Temple with a view of the city scored by rhythmic chanting. Though Nara was quite busy, it was still possible to find peace and solitude occasionally, on back streets, through Yoshikien Zen Garden, and amidst the decorative lanterns at Kushuga Taisha Shinto Shrine. Back in Kyoto, we got lucky with a table at a popular ramen shop, Menya Inoichi. The next morning, we went on a stroll through Arashiyama bamboo forest before it got too busy. Then a quiet walk up to Otago Nenbutsuji Temple. Over 1,200 Rakan statues fill the grounds. Matcha tea and street food fuel us to Okochi Sanso Garden, where we hoped to meet Buddha. At the Gold Temple Kinkakuji, we were probably the only tourists equally enamored by a flock of long-tailed bush tits in the nearby trees. At Kitano Tenmangu Shrine, we were interviewed by Japanese school children. Then we hopped on the subway over to Nishiki Market to peruse preserved, dried, and often unidentifiable foods. And finally to Pontocho Alley for okonomiyaki for dinner. Another beautiful morning and a visit to Fushimi Inari Taisha Shinto Shrine. More than 10,000 brilliant red torii gates line the paths up the mountains. At Sanju Sangen-do Buddhist Temple, photography is not allowed inside, so imagine a hall containing 1,000 gold statues of Bodhisattva Kannon. Lunch of soba needles at the adorable Sonoba Noodle and Pottery Shop. More trains, more sights, and then clam soup ramen, which was very delicious even for someone who does not like clams. Having seen everything we could fit in during our stay in Kyoto, we head to Atami Airport and board a plane to the northern island of Hokkaido. Kevin learns how to drive on the opposite side of the road in our tiny little SUV as we make it to the southwestern city of Kushiro, and possibly the best sushi we have ever eaten. Then, the sole reason we came to Kushiro, a canoe tour through the Kushiro wetlands. Our Ainu guide helped us spot deer, even a few babies, eagles, mandarin ducks, kites, and other wildlife, including the elegant red-crowned crane. This pair had a fledgling who hid in the grass as our canoe floated past. More bird sightings on our wet yet atmospheric walk along the wooden path through the wetlands. Then a delicious bowl of ramen to warm up. I think this was maybe Sapporo style. Mine had butter and corn with curly noodles. Arriving in Daisetsuzan National Park, we go on an obligatory waterfall hike and eat ice cream that tastes strangely like Smarties candy. Then arrive at our onsen resort in Sonkyo. Onsen are hot springs baths, and they have strict etiquette guidelines. Of course, photography is not permitted, so enjoy my sketch of the rooftop open-air bath. Hokkaido milk is the best, which means the ice cream is also the best. The lavender flavor at Farm Tamina was the prettiest, but the melon flavor from Tamina Melon House was the most delicious. We woke the next morning in a lakeside cabin at Nidam and enjoyed a traditional Japanese breakfast. Then to climb Mount Terume, an active volcano in Chikatsutoya National Park. Throughout Hokkaido, we saw many Izo red foxes along the road. They were extremely cute and fluffy, though this guy was a little haggard while shedding his winter coat. An onsen resort in Noboribetsu would be our last night on Hokkaido. We soaked our feet in the hot river Oyunuma, viewed the sulfuric hot spring pools, and walked through Jigokudani Valley. One last road trip to Lake Toya to view remains of volcanic eruptions of Mount Usu, then up the Isuzan ropeway to enjoy our final creamy Hokkaido ice cream and soak in the views from the observatory before we fly back to Osaka. Back in Osaka, we pick up our very tiny car and navigate the tollways to arrive in Koyasan. A mountain monastery, atmospheric Koyasan is filled with over 100 temples nestled in the trees. It is a beautifully rainy day and perfect for visiting the quiet town. We check into our Buddhist temple, welcomed by a hot pot of tea, followed by meditation and a vegetarian Shojin Ryori dinner. We end the day with an evening visit to Okinoan Cemetery, up to the illuminated lanterns at Torodo Hall, no pictures allowed. Our final morning began with a prayer and chanting ceremony in the main hall, and then a return to the cemetery to reflect on our trip. So much experienced, but so much left to see. Until next time, Japan.